You.
We are live, and we're thankful that all of you have joined this awesome tech lab here on Contract to Close. As we get more into people, I think agents being active, we're going to see more people watching recordings rather than being live on our education here. But I'm so thankful to have two contract experts and a special guest, super expert, Robin Nelson. And so I'm going to introduce Andrea Woodard Evans and Mandy Dye. They are two people that Andrea's a broker here at Village, and she has a passion for checklists and systems and operations, and I just value and appreciate that about her, amongst many other things. And then Mandy Dye, wave to us, Mandy. Mandy's an amazing contract to close expert who is with Village Assist, and so she helps people that want to outsource contract to close. And so today we're going to let Mandy start and kind of give some of what the process of contract to close. And we want to make this interactive. So if you have questions, but she's going to give an overview of the contract to close process and some best practices, and then kind of share with you how you would engage their services. And then Andrea can kind of step in and share some of her checklists and things. And then I really want to also allow some time. Robin, I so appreciate you coming on here. Robin Nelson is I'll just call her the quarterback of the club of the East office of several agents, including Robbie Stone, Sam Graham, Nick Irwin, and I know there's another. Is it just three? Those three lucky bastards. Let me tell you, Robin Nelson is the shiz when it comes to contract to close. So we're going to certainly leave some time for her to share some of her expertise and ways that you could learn and engage her too. So thank you everyone for joining. And Mandy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. Robin's on here too, because it's she's a little bit more advanced than we are. So I'll tell you a little bit about VA. Village Assist was kind of created to be a little stepping stone for agents who are starting to get busy and need help with contracts, but maybe you don't want to have a full-time personal assistant quite yet. So we're kind of there to be your little middleman and help you get through. Now for contract to close, we will help you kind of, navigate through the whole process, which means we'll have contact with your clients, with the outside agent, with the title and lender. And we send intros out with deadlines so that everyone is on the same page and in the loop. And we will help you coordinate the inspections and resolution phase. We'll help you draft amendments and things like that. We also can help draft disclosures that are missing and things like that. So for the best way to use us for things like that is to directly email me would be the best. And you can just give me your contract, the client's information, all the title, lender, outside information, everything you have. if you're missing something, obviously you can get it to me later, or I can help you try and figure it out. But that's probably the best practice for us. I see a couple of your names in here. I know I've helped you all in the past, and a couple of you I'm helping now, so, which I love that. But do you guys have any questions about anything specific that you would need with contract to close? You're not sure if we do? Anybody?
I guess had a question just about initiating the, I get a contract and woohoo, then just making sure, you know, obviously real estate can be fast paced sometimes.
Very.
Knowing that you guys have lives and that balance of, oh my God, it's under contract, and fitting in with and in stride with your workflow and workload. Yes. So just send you an email or?
Yes, send an email. And then if you can, if it's like something that has the deadline where you know is really fast on inspection, if you want to throw that in there and say, hey, like, I know the inspection's fast on this one. This is my inspector I want to use. Like, can you get that going? Or if you have already scheduled it, or the buyer likes to schedule it sometimes they like to take control of that. If you have that information and you want to throw it at me, that makes it go a little bit faster, a little more efficient. I'll also prompt you to, if you've not let me know about that, just to see what you're wanting to do with that. But yes, email is the best, just because it's nice to have it written all out, all the information we need. That makes it like the easiest for us to get it going, and we try and get it going fairly quickly.
For a new, thank you, Mandy. For a new agent or any agent that has been doing it themselves, or they've never done a contract yet, what is the way that they explain to their clients what you all do? Because you're really an outsourced service, and Andrea can speak a little bit more to managing this process yourself once, because Mandy has a very full day, so we're letting her go first to get back to her contract management. So she manages contracts for lots of different agents. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, as a person who has hired and run a team where I had to manage and pay for a full-time assistant versus having it outsourced, which I'm working with Mandy, and I've worked with other outside contract to close people. Explain how people, like you say, they send you an email, but how they explain to clients, and what is your level of interaction with the client versus what the agents are?
For a lot of agents actually have asked me how they should introduce me to their clients. And what I've always told them is just to let them know that I'm just kind of there to help them make the process go easy. I'm not taking place of the agent. You will still have full contact with them. They will always be copied on everything, but I'm just kind of a helping hand. So that's just kind of like how I like to do it, because we're not a personal assistant and we don't want to project that to anybody. As far as, sorry, what was your second part, Teddy?
As far as, how do we explain to your clients, or to clients, what parts that you handle, what the transition is, and then what parts you handle and what parts we do. So why don't you highlighted a little bit at the beginning, but maybe it's worth repeating and explaining what parts do we do versus you. Right.
So the agent obviously is in charge of all negotiating. So when repairs come along, I will help. Just like schedule everything.
Walk me through, Mandy. So we get a contract and it's binding. Take me from that moment when the contract's binding, what happens next with your involvement, and what pieces then walk us through the ones that we would be involved with.
Okay. So once you have a binding contract, you would send that over to me, and you can either tell your client that you're going to be hearing from me, or I send out an intro to introduce myself, letting them know who I am. I copy you and tell them that I'm your transaction coordinator and I'll be helping through this process. Then I go in my intro and I tell them all the specific dates and important things about the contract that are coming up, so that they're aware of everything. And then I let them know that inspections will need to be scheduled, and I'm happy to assist with that. Now, when the inspection comes back, that's when the agent would step in and you would help negotiate if there need to be any repairs. If there is, you would relay that to me, and I can help you draft a proposal, and we can get that over to the other agent. Now, I can't be in the negotiating of if they come back with something, that would also be you having to step back in. But I'll help you get everything finalized, and we'll get it sent to title, lender, anybody who needs that information. And then as we get closer to closing, I kind of touch base with them about a week before closing and let them know it's time to schedule a final walkthrough, talk to them about their utility information, and to get a closing time scheduled. And then I will facilitate all of those with you and with the outside agent to keep everybody in line. So that's kind of the process. I know that there's a few other things that you guys would be doing in between that, but since we aren't licensed, I'm not allowed to do all of those things. So that's kind of the overview of what we help you with.
And I'm going to share my screen for those that are in a safe place to view this and aren't driving. I'm going to show you an intro email that Mandy did for a client for us just 2 days ago. Can everyone see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So this will kind of give you a sense of how this works. And let me tell you, it's hard to let this process go because I'm very, very picky about communications, and I had all these drafted. And so when you start working with outsourced contract to close, if you've never done it before, let them tell you what's the best way to do it. Now, if you've done it like me for a long time and I've had a lot of missteps, they've already taken a lot of the best practices, but you can get a sense from this email. Mandy's introducing herself as the transaction coordinator for me. And then she's going to explain her role and the key steps. And she goes over when is earnest money due and when to make loan application. And we talk about each of these things. We give an overview of general home inspection, why you would hire radon, termite, the mortgage lender. Now this is a condo, so we didn't ask them to talk to them about, and it's a newer condo.
Cases?
Who's
Oh, ya quedó. Okay, espérate, estoy en clase.
Who needs to be muted? Mute yourself, Maria. I got you. All right. And so it's a newer condo. So otherwise we would have put in here that they would want to do a roof inspection and or HVAC. But you can see in here we've got information on the lender and that Mandy's already sent this to the lender. She sent it to the title company. We give them an alternative resource for who to explore homeowners insurance with. It's somebody that I've worked with. And because just as another bid, and then reminding them of closing. Reminding them of closing. Who needs to be muted? Maria, I think you keep unmuting yourself. All right. So be on the lookout for an amendment clarifying the binding agreement coming your way through Ted's transaction desk. So this is just the way it kicks off. This is the most important email I think that can be sent to just start things off. Know that the buyers don't read it, but this is an integral part of what of Mandy sends out and starts with.
Yes.
So that is the first step in the amazing race and how she takes over, if you will, and then keeps things involved. Mandy, how do you keep all these dates straight with all these contracts?
I use a system called Smart Sheets. It's a little like Google Sheets, and it I have a folder for each agent I work with and all of their transactions, and I put in dates and it sends me reminders and things like that. So it keeps me in order, which is very helpful.
All right, what's the over under? How many, hold up your fingers, how many contracts do you think she's managing right now that are pending? I see an 8. I see I see one. Oh, I see a 15. That's nice, Kelly. I like the 15. I'm pretty sure a little bug told me a secret, and Andrea may have the inside edge. She's working 50 contracts right now, my friends. 50. So you better ask.
All are contract to close, but 30 of them are. So it's busy.
Well, let me tell you, wait till you try to manage 3 at one time, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, because it's going to make you consider alternative careers quickly. So we want you to understand these outside resources beyond also best practices to do it yourself, because I think it's great when you start, but you're going to realize quickly, this is nothing to be messed with. This is a huge place of liability in the contract to close space of managing the details and liability to make sure it's all of the details that manage the customer experience. So very, very, very important. 50 clients or 50 contracts right now, my friends.
Yeah. And then I did want to touch on, oh, sorry, Ted.
No, please go ahead, Mandy.
I did want to touch on, we do have smaller packages if like the contract to close is just, you don't want to give up all that control, because I understand, I'm a control freak too. It's hard to do that. But if you need help with, there's a couple other, the VA Lite is basically we're checking all your paperwork and making sure everything is completed the way it should be for compliance. And if it's not, we're going to flag it and let you know so you can get us the correct one. We'll put it in VMint for you and close that out, all of that. It's kind of just a small package of just making sure you're on top of your paperwork, because that's something that sometimes I feel like agents put on the back burner because you're more worried about your clients, which you should be. That's the most important thing. So we would kind of just be the back end for you and just make sure it's all good to go. And then the VA Plus is just a little bit of a step up from the VA Lite, where if you're trying to get something from the outside agent and you just can't get it, like a few other disclosures, and you tell me, Mandy, they're not getting it to me, can you please like step in and just help get that facilitated? And I'll do that. So it's just a little bit of a step. We'll send some just sold postcards out with the plus one. So if you like that at the end. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that too.
So as you can see, we're going to let Mandy jump off here if you don't have further questions, because she literally does have one or two details to attend to. Mandy, you are a rock star, and I know we're working on bringing more support to your Village Assist team and keeping it together. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions?
Anybody questions before I step off?
Does anyone who want to submit their job application? We are taking those at indeed.com for contract to close experts. You got to be good.
Well, if you know anyone, let us know.
Thank you so much, Mandy.
Thank
You're a rock
you.
star.
Thank
And
you.
we did share Mandy's Village Assist service menu. You can see contact information there. That's in the chat window. So
Thank you,
Yes, I'm happy
Mandy.
to talk to anybody. If you have any questions, just hit me up later and I'm happy to help.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so that's no joke, 50 contracts, everyone. And I will tell you, there are other outside contract to close companies. I've worked with one called Dotted and Crossed, and that is the average load that each of their C2C experts carry is about 40 to 50 contracts a month that they're closing. But that's why the system and the checklist is so important. And so I want to turn it over to Andrea. And Andrea, if you'd like to share screen, or if you want me to put up the checklist that you've used, you
Already got it up.
you're in full control. Everyone put your hands together for the fabulous Andrea Woodard Evans.
Hey! Awesome. Thanks, guys, for showing up today. First of all, you are a step ahead of most everybody else because no one else is here. So that is impressive in and of itself. Who here has used a contract to close person? And who mostly does it themselves? Well, Rebecca, you are a contract to close person. So for those of you that have not done it yet, I would say if you're a little nervous about jumping in full throttle, start with the VA Lite. It's so easy. I actually was just texting this with Kelly and told her, I can't tell you that, or I'm sorry, not that I can't tell you, because I'm going to tell you. I have forgotten to close out a transaction in RealTrax before. And like, you just get so busy, you've closed the deal, you're already on to the next one. You've got one in inspection, you've got a buyer looking, you've got a listing on the market, whatever it is, you're going to forget, and you're going to forget something. And it's $60 on what you're making, and it's going to be done right at the very base level. That part at least is the no-brainer. If you're nervous about jumping in full, start there, and then ease your way in if you're nervous. Okay? So let's say that, oh, I'm disabled, Teddy. I don't know what happened.
You mean you can't share screen?
Yeah. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh, well, let's fix that. Hold, please.
So now that I just said you should definitely have Mandy and Village Assist do it, now I'm going to show you what to do if you don't do it through them.
Well,
So,
I will say, starting off, for those I mean, it is great. I encourage you, even if you hire it out, to learn the process and the practice, because you need to understand all aspects and pieces and components of the communication that goes to the clients. And even though an outside C2C company will CC you, lots of C's, they will CC you on the emails to your clients, but it never hurts to be ahead of that sometimes, so that you're just understanding it and can give them the heads up.
So let's just break down the whole process. So this form here, and I will share this with everybody. Teddy, this is actually in our shared. If you wanted to grab it and put it in the chat while I go through it, that'd be awesome. Thank you. this is just basic. We've broken it down into 4 phases. So in phase 1, you're under contract. You've got to figure out the financials. You got to get your contract lists in place. You got to figure out the inspections, the termites. You got to notify the seller of all these things. You got to update calendars. You got to send out the under contract email. You've got to notify the lender. You got to send the paperwork to the title company. You got to figure out where the earnest money is and give a copy to everybody if you're the recipient of it. And you got to send the executed contract to everybody. That just exhausted me already. And I'm just in phase 1 of notifying people that I'm under contract. So now we go into phase 2, where we're dealing with the actual inspection and the appraisal and the loans. So here you've done your inspection, you're going over it with the buyer, you're figuring out, what are we going to negotiate? What are we going to ask for? What are we going to do? Of course, this is always on us. This is not on our contract to close person, but this is something that you have to do during contract to close. So we're going through that. In the meantime, I highly encourage to get quotes. If you're representing the buyer, get your own quotes. If you're representing the seller, get your own quotes. You always want your own numbers for your client. So in other words, if I'm representing the buyer, the seller is going to tell me it's going to cost less so that they don't have to spend as much money, right? Whereas if I'm the buyer, I'm going to say it's going to cost more so that I make sure it's fully covered in case something else comes up. So you always want to make sure you're getting your own quotes. You submit the repair request. I'm kind of going through this fast just so you can see what all these different phases are. You're submitting the repair requests, you're negotiating them. So you have the proposal, you figure out the amendments. At that point, when the repair proposal has been agreed upon, you can forward that to your contract to close person, and they'll put it on the amendment for you and send it to your title company and your lender if needed. You're confirming appraisals. Now we get to phase 3. So basically, to get to the end of phase 2, you have completed all of, or not all, but the majority of your contingencies, because your financing contingency is still in play. But you've gotten your inspection removed, the appraisal has come back clear. Now we have to figure out what to do to get to the closing table. So we've always, you check in with your client. I do a check-in call every Monday morning with all my clients that are under contract and all my clients I'm actively working with as well. Mondays are a crazy office day. You are scheduling the closing. At this point, I highly encourage ordering your closing gift because especially right now, things take a little bit longer to be sent via mail. In case you're ordering it from somewhere, I've been waiting for a month for a birthday present that I ordered for somebody. Still hasn't arrived. Very easy mail shipment. So definitely get on top of those things. Go on and schedule the utilities. Our Village Assist team has the every county by county form of who to call for utilities. Another great perk of using Mandy. I hate to put more on her, but this is why they're there. This is why we have this service. They have, you know, who's the water with, who's the gas with, who's the electricity with, who's the cable company provider. Is there Google Fiber? Is there not? You know, all those kind of things that we get asked. They already have it in a one sheet. You're scheduling your final walkthrough. You're figuring out keys. I mean, what is more shameful is how many times I've shown up to closing without the keys. Like, why? Why do we forget the keys? They need the keys to get in. Well, luckily they're in the sentry box in the front door. So after closing, I just show them their house and get the key there. There's always an escape route too that I can teach you guys. But we have checklists for this as well. We're getting the final disclosure letter from the lender and we're reviewing the ALTA statement. Some of us still call it a HUD, but it is actually an ALTA. And now we're ready for closing. We've gotten to closing, we're closing out the file, we're moving it, not actually into SkySlope. SkySlope's done now. I'm a dot loop user, so dot loop is my jam. There was a point in time, very recently I was using SkySlope as well. Anyway, you're deleting the search results, you're updating all of your, we're just doing contract to close, so I'm only touching on this now. You're updating all of your flow, all of your database to then set the systems of post-closing. That's all that means by the closed action plan, because that's a whole new sheet. Who's confused? Who's overwhelmed? Who's ready to call Mandy? Like, help, help, help. So that was like breaking it down into phases. This is what Teddy's probably referencing, my pretty little spreadsheet of a checklist. Here, and he's going to share this too if he hasn't already. On this spreadsheet, if you scroll to the bottom, I have it all labeled in. I've got the new listing, I have moving day, I have pending, potential blue tape walkthroughs, what you should look for, contract deadlines letter, post-closing follow-up, and any general notes. Like if I start thinking of something and I don't have time to put it in the sheet, I'll just write it in the notes and then add it later. I'm going to start with the contract's deadline letter because this might be my favorite. And I'm going to have to go on and admit, I got this from Zach Goodyear. I did not invent this. Zach started this. He did the contract's deadline letter and I kind of did the other tabs, but this one's my favorite. So up here, starting on line 3, it's going to automatically give you today's date.
Mhm.
I don't know how that works, but it automatically gives you today's date. You're going to put in the address. You're going to put in the binding agreement date. So I'm going to change this date right here. I'm going to change a couple of other things and watch what it does on line 22 and on line 25. I'm going to put the binding agreement date of 5/19/2020. Earnest money is 7 days. Inspection is 14. Resolution is 2. It has automatically told me what my due dates are. It has added up my deadlines and given me the actual date. Obviously, it wasn't completed in 2019. Do y'all see that? Like, you never have to, again, remember, so day 1 starts what day, and then how many days, and like, takes all the confusion out. You put in your 4 different items, it's here. Line items, done. The other awesome part, oh, I didn't put close date. We'll put 6/30. It's not that important right now for our example, but we'll just put it in there. It says, congratulations on the contracts. We look forward to working with you. In order to stay in compliance with the timelines laid out in our purchase and sale agreement, we've outlined some important dates below to both give you formal notification of our request of certain provisions, as well as provide you an easy timeline checklist to reference going forward. Please let us know if the dates and times of all the inspections, of the dates and times of all inspections as soon as they're set up, and along with the name and contact info for each inspector and company, how they will be accessing the property, if you and or the buyer will be present. This is coming from the seller side. You can alter it if you're the buy side. And how long you expect it to take so that we may notify the seller accordingly. Category, earnest money is due by 5/26. And it says why it's due on that date. This references every point of the contract. You come on down, thank you in advance, we look forward to working with you. Sincerely me. I can print this and it comes out as an actual formal letter. All these little lines, Excel spreadsheet lines, go away. You print it off, you mail it, you act like you're printing it, copy and paste it into an email format, send it off. You've given now the buy side notification or the sell side notification. Again, this one's written as a sell side, but it's easy to change either way. And then for yourself, you have completed. So this is just another checks and balances. You do what works for you. Let's say this is how I'm tracking things. I can put in here, we went under contract on, what day did I say? 5/20/5/19. Actually, I got it the same day. I'm going to go in and put it in here. I've already gotten it. It's completed. It's done. The loan was applied for yesterday, today, whatever it was. So you see what I'm saying? So you just start filling it out. This, I copy this checklist into my Google Drive for every property I have under contract. So it tracks itself. Does that make sense? So like I have one entire checklist with all these different tabs for every property. So I can go in and track it. Any questions so far?
So I'm sure Zach figured it out, but rolling on the weekends and the federal holiday thing and how the performance deadlines, do you know if it does all that fun stuff?
No, it looks like it's just adding you'll want to check that. That's a great point. I'm not going to task him to figure that out, but it is adding in, if you notice, the binding agreement date, and it's adding in the earnest money days.
Okay.
But
That's a great question, though. He may have the weekend thing worked out, but it's worthy of asking. I doubt the holiday thing because that can change. But that's a great question, Betsy. Thank you. And this is a wonderful place to start. I would never count on any tech tool to calculate all your dates, but it is super helpful.
So for those of you that don't understand what Betsy just asked, if a performance deadline falls on a weekend or a holiday, it moves automatically to the next business day. Got it? Any questions there? Okay. So now I've shown you the 4 different phases. I've shown you the amazing pending listing timeline notification email. And let's say you want even more. You want more checklists. You just really like checking boxes. Here's this one for you.
Amazing.
Now, I will say I am the person that sometimes I add things to my to-do list, even if I've already done it, just so I can mark it through. So I am the check the boxes kind of gal. So here, you've got your MLS and paperwork upon binding agreement date. That's not bad as in it was a bad contract. It's your binding agreement. So this for me was my admin. I would share the checklist with my admin. I would finalize and bind the paperwork. I would upload all the docs to Dotloop if they weren't already done via Dotloop. And then I would submit the paperwork to, you guys aren't doing this part, but to the company. We're not doing it that way yet. So that's like just upon getting the paperwork. This is an editable form once you load it and save it into your own drive, and you make the checklist for you. Okay, so go in and edit, not mine, but yours when you make a copy and you put it in your own drive and you put your things on here. So save PDF letter to client's file. Not everybody does that. And if you don't do it, get rid of it. Like, don't have it on here if it's not something you're going to do. Make sense? And then add more to it. What you're going to do for inspection preparation and what possible inspections are you going to order? Not every home is going to have a septic inspection, right? So again, I save this for every property. I don't like have one form for all of them. So if I've saved this for, let's say, a condo in the Icon, I'm not going to just like leave that on there because it's just going to confuse me. I'm going to say, oh gosh, it's an empty box. What did I forget to do? I'm either, depending on what your personality is, I'm either going to put NA or I'm going to delete it. If it doesn't pertain to your specific contract to close file, don't leave a box unchecked. Just like the contract, you don't leave a blank unfilled in. Don't leave a box unchecked on your checklist either. To figure out how that works for you. So that's prepping for the inspection. This is not your seller's preparation list. If you notice here, I've sent my seller the inspection prep list. This is not my seller's prep list. Okay. Post-inspection, the different things that you could be doing. This form here that I have is something that I've sat in many different training sessions and classes, and things have been added to it that other agents use. So this is, if you guys see anything, they're like, oh, we should add that to this list, please speak up, because this is a forever growing list. This is a living document. I want it to constantly be updated. So that this is things that could happen after your inspection. These are things that would need to be happening to get ready for the appraisal. Adding improvement prices. What's unique about this house versus the comps? These are the things you're going to give the appraiser. Meet the appraiser in person. That is on the checklist because you should be meeting the appraiser in person. Then back up to the top. Miscellaneous pendings, order home warranty. Everybody orders those at different phases, so that's why it's under miscellaneous. If you have your client on an auto search, it depends on when your client wants to be taken off auto search. That's why those are up here. Again, you can add more to it. 1 week prior to closing, what you could be doing. 3 days prior to closing, what you could and or should be doing. It's all about the Alta at this point. Getting ready for closing, get all the repair receipts, coordinate transfer of keys and garage remotes. Do not take the garage remote control home with you. You have to go back to the house if you do that. Get your closing gift, email warranties, review. Look, I've reviewed now the Alta 3 times. Like, I can't express how many times you should review the Alta. Closing day. So I have on here, people question me on this all the time, like, why are you getting copies of their IDs for their birthday? If you're the person that you want to put your client on a drip campaign and include birthdays, this is a great opportunity to ask for their birthday without asking for their birthday. Hey, when we get to closing, they're going to need a copy of your ID. I'm going to be a step ahead of the game. I'm going to go in and get your ID for them. Would you mind if I get a copy of your driver's license? You got all their info now. You even have their eye color in case you wanted to send them Happy Blue Eyes Day, if there is such a thing. As for a testimonial, oopsies, different sites, miscellaneous sites. I love when I go through these, I always find typos. And then post-closing. Again, I know this is contract to closing, but let's talk about what happens after closing. You've got to turn in your Alta and your check to Village. Hopefully your title company is mailing those on your behalf and you're not actually dropping them off. Update your contacts in your database. Update your contacts in your phone. If you are an iPhone user and this is your form of your database, you better update their address in your phone. Otherwise, you're going to be sending them their birthday card to their old house, and that's not going to go well. If you're a person that likes to do just sold cards, this is when you're going to order those. If you're a person that keeps your files in Dropbox instead of .loop, then you're going to archive your Dropbox folder or Google Drive, whatever your system is to keep your files. And then this is a quick at a glance, things that you're going to do post-closing. You're going to friend the person on social media if you have not already. You should have already done that. You're going to have the day after call. Hey, how's it going? Did you get moved in? Did you get that dinner I sent to you? I know you were really busy moving all day, so I sent you dinner. Oh, you didn't get it? That means your neighbor got it. Or that old address I still have in my cell phone because I forgot to update your contact card. That new homeowner has your dinner. Sorry. 7-day, 3-day, 7-day, I would, call, have you met your neighbors? That's kind of, tell me the juiciest gossip about one of your neighbors. It's all about gossip, kids. 30 days, 6 months, and then 1 year. Hey, it's been a year. Happy anniversary. Here's what's been happening in your area. And then I would continue real estate review every year. Questions, comments? What should we add?
Rebecca, go ahead.
So one thing that I actually just had this conversation with Mandy recently. One service that Village Assist does provide is they enter all the documents into VMint for you. So, and that's how you get paid. So there where you've got, and in theory, you should be, not that I do this, but you should be entering it as you go along. So you've got it in the system and stuff, but you might put a reminder at the end to be sure you get everything in there and close it out so you get a check.
For those that haven't had to have the glorious experience, Kelly, or maybe a few others, of doing this yourself, I just like to clue you into the gold that you've just been given. Because I can explain to you the shit show that I've ran for many, many years trying to put this together, and the endless checklists that I've borrowed and adapted from other people. I think this is probably one of the best and concise, and Rebecca's nodding, and she's seen plenty out there, including mine. And so wherever you stole and pilfered this from, Andrea, who do we owe that pleasure?
Again, I would say Zach started it, and it has been multiple skills groups and trainings and coachings and collaborations with countless agents. Because, I mean, just like we just did, Rebecca, you just added a tidbit there that I just added in 2 different spots. So
Yep.
Rebecca is part of this. We owe Rebecca, thank you.
And you'll notice too in Andrea's spreadsheet here, there's a lot of other tabs, and so you can look into that another day, but you'll have access to this. I am in the process of putting together a new agent toolkit that has access to all resources and a central source that we were going to collaborate all best practices. So that will be unfolding here as we go, where we're going to take things that other agents have been doing and that we've adapted, and we'll put samples in there, and it'll all be accessed through a Google Drive. That my commitment is that this is going to happen by this summer. So if not much sooner. So Andrea is going to be a part of that, and many others. Betsy, you were shaking your head. Did you have something to add, or were you just in amazement of how great?
Bow down. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
That's a great tool. I'm so happy that you're sharing this with us. Every time Zach sends us a worksheet, is just a work of art. I love it.
It is.
He is, I don't know how he does it, and it's not hard for him at all. I don't know if it fulfills him or brings him joy, but man, you tell him, hey, I need a spreadsheet for this. It's like, and then there it is. I'm like, what just happened?
That's a gift.
Yeah.
It is. Everybody has their gifts, and that is certainly his. And so, but you know, the spreadsheets are only as good as the data that goes into them. And so it takes other people that are in the trenches and doing that, as Zach has done. That's why I value and appreciate and respect Zach, is that, you know, he's a broker owner that came from the streets, right? He trained at Village, and he learned a lot of great core skills there, and he's positioned and adapted, and we're sharing those. And that's what's most important. So any other questions for Andrea before we turn it over to our additional resident contract to close expert who didn't know that they were going to be called upon? All right, everybody. Robin, if you're still there and you'd be so willing, we would love to hear some of your nuggets of the trenches. Let me give a little sharing on Robin. I don't even know how long Robin's been with Village. How long has it been, Robin? She's probably buried in a binder somewhere. She'll come back to us. Don't worry. Robin, step away from the checklist. So when I met Robin the first time, I had to peek over a divider on the second floor, and she was working for some other agents that are formerly known as agents. And over the divider, there's Robin underneath a 12-inch binder. I shit you not. I didn't think they made him this deep. This sucker is like 8 to 12 inches. She kept all the checklists and paperwork for all the contracts of the multiple agents she was doing in a single source. And I thought, how is that even possible? Like what? And she just was diligent and focused, and it was amazing. And so I thought, I don't know how she's doing it that old school, but what I valued was she was using a system that she created and that she just used. And so all these checklists and things, they're only good if you use them. And so don't be daunted that you have to use them. Adapt and make them your own, and use the ones that you want. So that's about all the stall I have on that. And I'm kidding, of course, but Robin, are you there on a phone call? And Rebecca, please jump in while we're waiting for her to come back.
I was just going to add that, so I'm out of the East office, and Robin supports East Attic team out here. A very, very busy group of agents, Robbie Stone, Sam Graham, and Nick Irwin. And I see her in action every day, and it's, well, you know, until recently. And she's fantastic. The other thing that I will say is I've taken, there she is, don't listen, Robin, I'm talking about you, is last year sometime I signed up for, she offers a one-day transaction coordinator training class, and it's 8 hours of mind-blowing stuff. And she doesn't give you a 12-inch binder, but it feels like it was like 4 inches of stuff, and just tools, you know, so sharing of her entire system, and I'm still learning. I pulled out the binder last week looking for something. So she is a master, and her 8-hour class is well worth it if you're hiring an assistant and want to get them up to speed. It's worth that and then some. And she's just a lovely person.
Thank you.
I
so
agree.
much.
Hey, Robin.
Hi.
I recently took her class too. She's the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am.
And I've referred you other people. I don't know if you've.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to be a busy girl.
I am in the process of making everything remote. So I was doing my class in person, but since then it was actually on my list this year, oddly enough, in March to turn it into a webinar in Zoom format. So hopefully be able to have that soon, but I miss getting to be face-to-face with my students. I adore Contract to Close. I'm just one of those paperwork people. And I've been doing this for, I think I'm in my 6th year, and then had come from a different industry. And so when I jumped in, I didn't really have any background. I had someone that was like, oh, I did this once or twice. Here's kind of the high points. And so I built my checklists from that point, which have sort of just kept evolving. So I adore these spreadsheets. I adore this Excel sheet that you guys shared. Thank you for sharing those. I was gonna say in the beginning, I did have a physical paper format. Many trees lost their lives to the transactions of the team that I was on. I have since digitized everything, and all of my team uses dot loops. So I have all of my checklists, created them in task format. Authentisign also has that function where you can create a task and add it to each transaction. So we kind of have running lists that are individualized for the agent needs, and I kind of run my life, but also Contract to Close off of calendar reminders that send me emails that tell me when to do stuff, and spreadsheets. One of my goals in life is to never remember anything, and to make sure that my notes are in such a way that I can reference them at all times and know who, what, when, where, how much. And so there's just too many details, and all you have to do is misremember one thing for something to fall apart. So law of inevitability. So I'm all about a checklist. I'm all about a calendar reminder. They make my world go round.
Well, it's Robin, could you give us because we've got all experience levels on this Zoom today, and there's going to be people watching this later, but what would you say are the biggest pitfalls that, or rather, yeah, what are the pitfalls and what are the simple things that we can do to help, that you found quick tips that you would, as us as agents, to help this process?
My brain loves efficiency, and so I do think it is probably worth to put in the time on the front end to build a spreadsheet or a checklist like this that is either customized to you or things that you realistically know that you will do. And then to never ever say, oh, I'll do that later, I'll remember. So either using a reminder on your phone, like if you have iPhone, they have one built in, but there's many apps out there that keep track of things for you. I had one agent that he had a piece of paper that he would write on, and it was like stuck in his coat pocket, and that worked for him. I was always worried that it would get lost and then everything would crash and burn, but it was fine. Or using like a notes section on the phone, I would say some kind of plan of sustainability. So like if you're driving in your car and then all of a sudden someone says, hey, can you ask the other side if XYZ? It is possible that those things might leave your brain before you get to your next stop or something comes up distracting. So just some kind of sustainability plan for making sure you don't have to remember anything later, that it's written down, there's a reminder set, there's a backup plan.
Awesome, for sure. Questions for the amazing Robin Nelson? It's your chance, folks. You pay big money to get in front of her, so we're giving it to you right here. I mean, we can just have a dance party the rest, but I'm kidding. We've got more to share. But
Well, shameless advertising while people are thinking of questions. My classes, we try to get everything done in one day. I have mock contracts that we process together. So first part of the day is learning the terms. It is geared towards agents that are hiring assistants or contract to close, but is also amazing for agents that are looking for a system or a process for themselves. Everything is customizable. I am a binder person, so it does come with a giant binder to flip through with tabs. And it also comes with like customizable forms and different formats. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions.
What does that class cost, Robin?
It is $500 for the day, the binder, and all of the customizable materials.
So let me just plug this, folks. That class should be $1,000 minimum, because your assistant, I can't tell you, I mean, I've done this. I've had an assistant for over 12 years. A contract to close, I call him my client care manager. I hate the word assistant, but I use it sometimes because that's what everybody understands. But I was one of the first people using the term client care manager, and everybody ripped it off, and I like it. But that class is so cheap for yourself, for the money. Take that once you get your feet wet, after you've taken RealTrax and mastered Transaction Desk or Dot Loop or other things. You're not ready for that step yet for those that are just starting out. But just to have the awareness of what if you are employing or supervising an assistant, and if you're clear, they're the ones really running the show. You're the ones just out like hunting, but it's worthless if they're not cooking it. And so Robin and her team and many others, I mean, it is really, really such an amazing course. And, you know, when I started in this business, which wasn't that long ago, but 17 years, there were no contract to close specialists. There was no classes. We were all just feeling our way through trying to improve the process. And now, of course, there's outside resources and people are expanding to multiple markets, and Robin's class can go online and she plays her cards right. You're not going to be able to get in front of her and have her do a contract. She's going to make more money than she ever needs just teaching people how to do it. And it's true. It's really true. There's a huge need in the market for it. So thank you for creating that course, Robin, and offering and letting us.
I have a question for Robin.
Yes.
When is your next class?
I am hoping to have a class up and running by June. This is my soft plan.
Awesome.
But I'll put my email address in the chat. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to figure that out with you.
Thank you.
Is there any way we can help and support your business besides referring people to you?
Well, that's just going to say word of mouth has been very kind, and I've been at Village at the whole time. So several of my students have been admins for Village, which I absolutely love. But I've had several from several other brokerages, because at least in Tennessee, most of the rules maintain for what needs to go where and who needs to get what. So thank you so much for the kind words and for giving me a chance to talk to everybody.
Excellent. Yeah. And Robin, I kid you not, it's not if, it's when, how fast you want to grow and broaden. I know there's a huge network of people well beyond just the Village family that we could help you grow your business. Not that we want to take you away from the East Addict, but it's you've just got it down really, really well. And so I'm happy, and I know everyone is, to help you. So awesome. Any other things people want to share?
I have a question for Andrea.
Yes, Maria, go ahead.
You said that the worksheet was for sellers. Do you have one for buyers?
It's actually for both. What I was showing you was that contracts deadline letter. The last time that I edited this, I wrote it from a seller perspective. So you would just change this, instead of on line 19. Here, let me screen share real fast in case you're looking at the screen. Why is it gone? There it is. On line 19 here, instead of saying, please let us know of the dates and times of all inspections, if I already know it, I would put it in here. Our inspections are scheduled for blah, 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 blah. Please let me know how to access the property. I will be present, as will be my buyer. It will take roughly 2 hours plus 4 more. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I don't have specific buyer and seller. I just alter it how I need to. You can actually, if this made you nervous, you could take out line 19 altogether, and line 18 goes for either side. You know, congratulations. We look forward to working with you. In order to stay compliant, here's some timelines laid out in the purchase and sale agreement. Just want to make sure we're on the same page, and then get rid of the rest. That works just as well.
Yeah, that works too. Thanks.
You're welcome, of course.
You could also just duplicate the tab, and rename it, put buyer at the bottom, and then edit it, and then so it's going to pull all the dates pulling from all that stuff, but then just change the verbiage, have one tab named seller and one tab named buyer.
That's a great idea.
Sure, that's a good idea too.
It's so much about the efficiency, as Robin said, like, I don't trust myself to remember things, and that the consequences can be just too steep. And I also used to always share that, and it sounds maybe morbid, but if I get hit by the bus, that's not my client's problem. And they could give 2 shits why they need to worry about where to get their kids into school and get a roof over their head. And that's the truth. I want to be so replaceable at any time, because we all are, but it shouldn't be at the cost to the client's experience, that they can open up the file and know right where we are and how to take it from there, because we follow a system. So that's my philosophy is life happens when we're making plans for something else. So have a plan for that. And that to me is where having these outsourced resources, we didn't even used to have this. So if you were in the weeds and buried, you just had to figure it out. So it's really nice to have these different menu options that we have with Village Assist and other outside resources. So.
And I'd just like to throw for perspective, because when I started not all that long ago, I wanted to learn the system. I wanted to, be in the nitty gritty, so I understood it. And then when I started getting busier and busier, and I liken it to the old variety shows where you got somebody spinning plates on sticks and you got to keep the plates spinning. Think of the consequences if the average sale price for a house is $350,000. I think it's a little higher than that in Nashville, but $350,000 after you take the 3% and give some to your brokerage, that's $7,500 that you're going to get paid. What happens if you screw up a deadline and that deal falls through? You get nothing. Is it worth $90 or $120 to pay a Village Assist or someone to help you with that? So that, it's risk management. And the other thing is, if you're not spending all your day doing a checklist, then you can be out there making your phone calls and that sort of thing. So it's an investment in your business, in my opinion.
Agreed. Fred Lawrence.
Ted, I could go to that point too. I had a situation where I was going to Canada with a scout troop in an out backwoods canoeing trip. And I knew I was going to be gone. I got Lynn Robertson to watch my business while I was gone. But I also had Village Assist helping with closing that I had. And it gave me great peace of mind to know that I could be there with no phone contact. I sent out a list of all the players to Lynn and to Mandy. And I went on that trip knowing that everything would be taken care of and I'd be fine. And that was very valuable to me.
Absolutely. And with all respect, it was probably taken care of better than you, because we all need to be doing what we do best. And for most of us, if we're great at the sales side, you're not probably as great at this side. And so we cherish people who just love and excel at those details and back end, because there's just no there's no steak without it. We're not cooking tartare or sushi here. This is the video. We'll conclude with this. It's 3 o'clock. I'm gonna share this, and this to me I think embodies the contract to close experience. And thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, I joke. God's coming. Everybody look busy. All right. Well, that concludes the show and entertainment for today. Any other parting thoughts before we wrap it up? Okay.
It was well worth it.
We appreciate that very, very much. Let's give everybody a hand that participated. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. Make it a fantastic day. We appreciate you so much, and we'll send you out with some music today. Go get them, everyone. Outsource your contract to close.
Teddy, are you going to email us a copy of that spreadsheet?
It's in the chat. If you hit the 3 dots and hit save chat, you'll have everything that's in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you don't have access to that, you can reach out to me or any of your broker team. We'll
I
make sure.
see the 3 dots. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.